Architectural presentations are not for the faint-hearted. Here are some quick tips to help with your first ever architectural presentation in a jury. Tip number 1, your appearance. You must try as much as you can to look formal, simple, and sharp. It's a presentation and you'll be presenting both yourself and your works. So make sure you appear there looking the part. As for the guys, try as much as you can to have a good haircut, get your best dress on, and look sharp. As for the girls, try as much as you can not to present anything you are not supposed to be presenting. Try and look as sharp as possible and formal and keep it simple. Tip number 2, your voice. You should make sure that you are audible enough, loud enough, and confident enough. This can be achieved by practicing by yourself in a mirror or just getting a group of your friends and have them listening to you. They can tell you if your voice is too low or too high, and then you could work on that and prepare for your presentation. Tip number 3, work on your graphics. If you have bad graphics in your first presentation, it's almost certainly going to be disastrous for you. Things like your lettering must always be written with guidelines to make your work appear neat and smart, just like you are. You should have consistent line weights throughout your drawings, and you should also use clear, simple drawings and images to represent your ideas and concepts. Before we continue with the video, my name is Odo Peter. I'm an architect and a lecturer at the University of Nigeria. Consider liking and subscribing to our channel to help me grow, and I'll be posting tips like this to also help you grow in architecture. Let's continue. Once the jury gets to your turn, you start with an introduction. You introduce your name, you introduce the title of your project. Now, when introducing the title of your project, you must remember these 3 things: the location of the project, the category of users in the project, and the capacity of users or the capacity of the project. This will immediately allow you to define the boundaries of your presentation. The next set of sheets you'll be presenting will be termed your research sheets, and this is how to go through them. You can start by describing the key spaces within the project you are presenting and then the minimum standard requirements for those spaces. You should go through them in detail by showing various permutations of the key spaces and their relationships, and then suggesting which one you think might be most appropriate for the design project you are using. Next, we move over to your case studies. Case studies are so important, especially for young architects that are just entering into the School of Architecture. Now, case studies is at the heart of your presentation. So you must sieve through a lot of case studies, get the best buildings that you can learn very enticing ideas from that will influence you. Because as a newbie in architecture, your jurors already know that you are not an experienced architect. And so they are expecting that you are able to learn from the experiences and works of other architects and make a suiting proposal to them. So don't joke with your case studies. Have good, enticing case studies. Have a sheet where you can deduct inferences, what you learned from the case studies and what you are going to pick from these case studies to apply them. Now, the quality of your case studies will definitely affect the quality of your work. Once you have wonderful case studies and you learn wonderful things, you can easily apply them in your work. Don't joke with it. Moving over from your case studies, you've explained the major spaces within your design project. You've also talked about some case studies. You go to the next section, which is the functional relationship between key spaces, or what most of us term as bubble diagram or flowchart. Most times, a lot of students don't understand what bubble diagram is all about. So they draw a bubble with a lobby in the middle and connect all the spaces to it. And you see toilets popping up in the bubble diagram and things like that. The bubble diagram is just supposed to show the relationship between the key spaces and how they allowed you to zone your floor plans, your buildings, your site plan. So your bubble diagram shouldn't be complex. It shouldn't be confusing. It should almost be like a flowchart within the major spaces in the project. It could show vertical circulation. It can also show horizontal circulation. But the most important thing you should do is that try to keep it simple. Now, the functional flowchart or the bubble diagram is the submission of the research phase. So you could have 2 or 3 functional flowcharts and bubble diagram. You should also have a sheet that shows your space area calculations proposed for the project, at least with regards to the number of people that are using the project. This shows your lecturer that you've done proper research and that you've learned things from the research. The next phase of our presentation will now go into the site analysis. In the site analysis, we are going to be presenting some very important information about the site, such as the size, the sun and wind analysis, the access, and the topographic analysis. For your first presentation in architecture, I think these are the most fundamental ones. Now, this is the part where your presentation begins to get interesting. You see, you've been gathering information and sorting them out, and now this is where you begin to apply the information to create a unique design solution. So the next aspect of your presentation is your concept development. Now, what your concept development simply means is that now you've taken all the things you've learned and you are trying to synthesize them into a teamed solution so that somebody can look at your work and say, yes, this is a simple, stylistic, unified solution to all these problems and all these factors affecting the problems. Now you have different information to help you develop a concept. The concept is not always just about the form or the shape of the building. It's also about how the building functions, about the layout, about the zoning, about the materials that come together to form the building. So the concept is always amalgamation of different solutions, little solutions that now come together into a teamed solution. So don't worry about if your concept isn't a specific shape or anything like that. But try as much as you can. One idea I'll always try and give it a unique name. So you can say your concept is this unique name, and then use that unique name to explain all the little solutions that you are proposing in that design. After presenting your concept, you now begin your actual detailed presentation of your site plans, floor plans, elevations, sections, and roof plan. With regards to your site zoning, you look at the access, you look at the public area, you look at the restricted area, you look at the service areas. You can quickly trace a pathway for the different types of users within the site. A very simple way to fetch marks while presenting your site plan also is to describe any solution that is unique to the user experience that you've tried to impute within your site to help the users of the building enjoy it more, feel more safe, or encourage healthy living within the site. The next is your floor plan. You use the same method in presenting your site plans to present your floor plans. So you present your floor plans in the major active zones within the floor plan. Try to trace movement paths of the various users within the floor plans. You also indicate all where there are vertical circulations and escape if it's a high-rise building. And finally, you describe any unique solution you've also added to the floor plan to make the user experience much more fun, much more functional, much more healthy, much more secure. After that, you move over to your roof plan. The major thing you want to do about your roof plan is that shades the building. You should be able to shade the building. You should explain the roof type. You should also talk about maybe the truss system and the roof covering, the finish. All these are just about details. If you have already annotated your project properly, it will be easy for you to present those. With your elevations, you should aim to strike an interest within the heart of your examiners or the jurors. So your elevation is just something that speaks into the artistic part of you, and also try as much as you can to make it functional. In making a presentation of your work, it's always important to keep the end user at heart. The jurors always want to know how you have thought the project through. So it is not always about what you did to get points or to score marks in your presentation. It's about what you did so that the end users of that project will have a much more better fulfilling experience using your design solution. Presenting your sections, you should describe the structural systems within the building. You should also talk about the roof truss systems. You should also make mention of the construction type, methodology, or processes that will be used in erecting your structure. And finally, you present your interior perspectives or exterior renderings of the project. In presenting that one, just point at them and smile. Don't say too much about that. At the end of your presentation, you should say thank you to signal to the jurors that you're done and you're ready for questions. During the question time, listen attentively to what is being said to understand first before you respond. Sometimes a juror might make a critique of your work, but does not require a response. And sometimes a juror might ask a question to test your knowledge of the work just presented, and that will require an answer. So know the difference between these two by listening to understand, not to reply your jurors. And finally, always be receptive to good thoughts and ideas. Show gratitude for comments, and that's a wrap. Your presentation is done. I wish you success in your presentations. If you are still watching, I hope you like, comment, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in subsequent videos that I'm sure will benefit you throughout your stay in the School of Architecture. Thank you. Ciao.